Well, first and foremost, I'd like to thank you for coming onto the show. I greatly appreciate it. I know everybody's time is valuable, so thank you for that.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, of course. So you just mentioned that you were in a boxing class. I was just curious, like, what got you into boxing? Is this something new, or you've always been doing that?
I've been boxing since I was 7, actually.
Okay.
My dad was a professional fighter, so I really love the sport. I think that
Hmm.
it's really a great sport for any athlete just to, punching's fun, but also on the explosive end. I played soccer in college, so I just think it intertwines really well with other sports and it's good cardio, fun cardio,
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
Stairmaster is not very fun.
No, no, of course. Going like Stairmaster for me, it's like I have a love-hate relationship with the Stairmaster because it's like I kind of like the repetitiveness and like the slow, movement, but then at the same time, it's just so boring. It's like there's no like excitement to it, at all. So it's just kind of frustrating sometimes. I got a
So,
tie bag in my home gym, so like I do that a lot for cardio as well. So I know where you're coming from.
yeah. Yeah, I got some battle wounds today because I from prep I wasn't able to box for a really long time, but my
Hmm.
coach finally said like, "Yeah, you can box once a week." I'm like, "Yes." But my knuckles, they aren't used to punching, so it takes a minute for them to get kind of like back,
Yeah.
you know.
It's funny how your skin like is. It's like your skin has to kind of get used to that pressure. I remember in the past, like if I were to take any time off of any kind of training, like I used to wrestle for a long time, grapple for a long time. And if I took any time off, like your skin just wouldn't like the first time you come back, it would just be bruised and red from all the, like the rubbing and everything. And after a little while, the same like rubbing and stuff like that wouldn't affect you anymore. It's like it's almost like your skin just gets used to that friction, you know?
Yeah, it's just like calluses, from
Hmm.
lifting. Your skin adapts, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, very, very interesting how that works. So, I mean, you're in bodybuilding. Can you tell us like how you got into that part of your life?
Yeah, so like I said, played soccer in college.
Hmm.
So I think any athlete can kind of relate where you identify in that sport that you eat, breathe, live, especially if you play throughout college. And after you graduate, it's kind of like, okay, what now?
Hmm.
For a while, I was into CrossFit. I liked being competitive and lifting. It was fun. Also, didn't have to think much. You just kind of like go into the gym. There's a class written for you. And then I was a personal trainer. So right out of college, I have been a personal trainer. And I've always been intrigued by bodybuilding because my whole family has done bodybuilding. Like
Hmm.
my mom, my dad, my grandma, my uncles. So it was a thought, but I didn't like any of the categories for me
Hmm.
personally. Bikini's really small for my frame, and then physique and fitness, and it just wasn't
Hmm.
my vibe. And
Hmm.
then when wellness came to the US, I was like, okay, I like that's my genetics,
Hmm.
bigger legs, smaller waist, smaller upper body. So then I was down to do bodybuilding. So
Yes.
after COVID, I kind of my fiance and we gained some weight. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just go into a prep. Why not?
Yeah.
So it's kind of random. Last April, I just randomly went into prep. I didn't really bulk beforehand because, like I
Hmm.
said, I gained some weight, and I figured I had good muscle foundation from lifting pretty much my whole life through sports. Um, and then turns out I did have muscle under my fat, so it was good.
So
uh,
so that entire like you didn't compete at all until wellness came around. Like you just decided that like, hey, I'm just gonna, as interesting as it is, it's just all these divisions don't really fit my, my structure. Was that kind of the reason behind it?
Yeah, I mean, bikini, I knew that I would really not have like lift at all. I would pretty
Hmm.
much just have to diet, and
Hmm.
that sounded terrible to me. And then, yeah, I just wasn't really interested in growing my upper body a lot. I mean, my lats and stuff, my shoulders, but I just didn't want to have a huge upper body. And I know that I gain muscle really easily.
Hmm.
So, yeah, it didn't spark my interest until wellness came to the US. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Were you keeping an eye on wellness while it wasn't in the US? Because, it was really big in like a lot of the Hispanic countries. Also, like there's some European countries that wellness was big into, but like it never really took off in the US, which was it's kind of surprising to me that it didn't do that earlier because it was extremely popular everywhere, else. So are you kind of watching it outside of the country at all?
I really wasn't
Hmm.
actually. Somebody at my gym talked to me about it, like, why don't you go for wellness? And I was like, oh, I didn't realize that they added the category. So then
Hmm.
that's when I looked at it. And then I kind of did my deep dive after that. And then I started looking at Brazil in particular,
Hmm.
their wellness, category. So
Right. Well, they're
yeah,
kind of like the forerunners, right, of the division right now, which
yeah.
I mean they were kind of that way before it came to the US, so it makes sense that they would kind of take over. I think that's what everyone expected. I think the question was really which Brazilian was gonna, take the Olympia title, and I mean that's kind of cleared up now. Um, so how did you how did you like start your progression? Like how many shows did you do, before you got your pro card? Like kind of how did all that go?
I My first show was in April, and initially, or last April, 2022.
Hmm.
I really only wanted to do one show. It was kind of like a checklist, okay, cool. I did a show, but I ended up qualifying for nationals. So
Hmm.
then I figured, you can't get invited to nationals, not go. That's not fair to the other women that were competing and trying to go to nationals. So did
Right.
another prep, and then at nationals I won my pro card. So I've only done two shows.
That's pretty like astonishing. Even for a new division to get your pro card in two shows. Did you expect that to happen? Like, when you were at nationals, because in most cases, you kind of have to put in your time, and you're obviously not the only wellness, competitor that's going. There's plenty of other ones. Maybe some of them have been around for a while. How did you feel when you were getting on stage? You feel like you had it, or you weren't sure?
To be honest with you, it was kind of my game plan to only focus on myself.
Hmm.
I couldn't really tell you what anyone else looked like. I didn't want to look around. I didn't want to get out of my own headspace. And regardless of the outcome, I knew that it was my journey and something that I wanted to do, just focus on myself. So, like, even at nationals, I didn't even realize that I was holding center. Like, that might sound kind of funny, but I I didn't have expectations. I didn't realize that I was kind of winning or whatever.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, yeah, you know, I
So
think
you
it's
had,
really important
go
to
ahead.
just focus on yourself, you know.
Yeah, no, I completely get where you're coming from. Sometimes when you kind of get distracted, you lose when you lose your focus. It really affects your performance. Some people even said it affected their physique. Like I've talked to some people and they feel like their physique changed. I don't know how much stock I put into that. It's possible, but it definitely can perform or I'm sorry, disrupt your posing for sure if you're not focused.
I think like cortisol would have something to do with
Mhm.
that, the people that maybe said
Mhm.
that it kind of ruined or affected their physique.
Right.
Maybe they got hella stressed out and they um I could see how that maybe like retaining water or something.
Sure, sure. Maybe something like, yeah, like a water manipulation issue like could come up. Yeah. I mean, I get, yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about it from that standpoint. So
Yeah.
you win your pro card, and then what that was 2022. So
Yeah, I
is
won pro card December 2022, so really recently.
just so yeah, just now. Okay. So I've actually interviewed a few people that won their pro card just this recent nationals, and it was a pretty exciting nationals, if, all things considered. Are you are you thinking of like what's coming up for you as far as like the pro shows?
Yeah, my feedback from the judges was to just grow. So they said bigger quads, bigger glutes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I talked to my coach, and we need, not only to recover from just being very lean, which can be unhealthy for women. I have to recover from that, but I also need to build a lot. So we're taking the rest of the year to just
Mm-hmm.
build and eat and grow. So my next show will probably be in February or March of next year. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting married in May.
Oh,
So
congratulations.
thank you. May of next year.
Mm-hmm.
So um, as long as it's before that, then it's fine, you know?
Right, right. So yeah, it would be interesting if you could like get in shape for the show and then go right into your marriage. That would be cool because then you'll be like in
Yeah.
shape for the honeymoon and for everything else, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. I just want to probably gain. I have 2 months to gain some weight after the
Mhm.
show because I don't want to be, that lean.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, that's kind of the idea. I was like, okay, 2 months is a great amount of time to gain some weight, walk down the aisle. It's
yeah,
great.
yeah. No, I think you got a good plan there. So you're talking about getting lean. How lean do you have to usually get from your like off season to to stage? Do you drop a considerable amount of weight?
So from my first show, I did not do enough cardio. That was obvious from my second show. But when you're first starting, you don't know what you're capable of, like,
Hmm.
until you push yourself there. So for my first show, I was probably about 12 to 13% body fat. My second show, I got down to 9% body fat. Um, and then I off season probably hover around like 15 to 17,
Hmm.
18. Um, trying not to gain too much fat so you don't have to do so much cardio.
Hmm.
But yeah.
What do you think the biggest struggle is with like gaining weight like post show or like off season? Some people I know on the men's side this happens a lot. It probably happens on the women's side as well, where people just gain too much weight in the off season. Where so when they come in, for their prep, it's like they have to just lose weight. Like it's such a struggle, to even get to striking distance.
Yeah, I think that um, in recovery after the show is really important. Reversing is really important, but it's hard to do that because you're so strict for however long your prep was
Hmm.
that after you're done, you kind of want to like just not have any structure at all. But it is important to have structure. I did not have structure for probably 2 or 3 weeks, and then I was back on like a recomp. So
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, hormones have a huge play in that for retaining a lot of water,
Right.
especially after like post show, you start eating things that you weren't eating for months and months and months. So your body's kind of just like, what the heck? And
Yeah.
just, you know, bloating for sure, retaining water for sure. And then, yeah, gaining weight. I think it's really important to have a super strong sense of self because it's really easy to have body dysmorphia and to see yourself so lean and then look in the mirror and be like, damn, I
Hmm.
gained so much weight, feel bad about it maybe.
Hmm.
But when you have that strong sense of self and self love, mostly, like it just all comes back to that doesn't matter,
Right.
it's just all about loving your body in every single stage, in my opinion, and just looking in the mirror and feeling proud of what you accomplished and what you're going to accomplish next, and just taking it kind of day by day rather than feeling any regret or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from. It's a tough, like bodybuilding is tough mentally, right? Like I had this conversation with someone recently. It's, you're getting into like an incredible shape, an incredible look for like one day, one night, and better than most people will ever, you're basically like an action figure for one day, and then you kind of don't look like that anymore. So it's mentally can be really taxing on someone for just to think of themselves like self as just not being good enough once they start like gaining weight. And I think I agree with you. Like I think there's a point, this was my point to the person I was talking to, was that you just have to be content. Well, two things. One, you have to be content at each level, right? So, like where you are at each level, you have to be content there. But then two is don't have such drastic swings, because sometimes when you have drastic swings like in between like your stage and then like your off season, it's even more, like it plays even more on your mind, and I know that's easier said than done, but like you were talking about, structure is important. It's like you can have more calories, just do it in a structured way, not just
Yeah.
lose your mind and just eat whatever. So,
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, easier said than done, but um very important for sure
mhm,
to have
mhm.
structure after post show. I think we can all do a little bit better at that. But it's, we're just human.
Yeah,
You're so strict for so long. It's hard to want to continue to be strict, but
sure,
necessary.
sure. You ever cheat on your diet?
During like
Prep?
my cut,
Yeah.
no,
No?
I don't. I don't. Not on my cut. During my bulk, yes.
Uh-huh.
Um, but my cut, no.
Okay.
I am a natural athlete, so I just think it's really important
Mhm.
to, I don't know. I also, I get very like tunnel vision. I'm like, I need to
Mhm.
cross my T's and dot my I's.
Right.
I want to stay super focused, and I would be disappointed in myself
Mhm.
if I cheated on my diet. But yeah, my
Yeah.
coach asked me the same thing. Like, you really don't cheat on your diet, dude. I'm like, no, I can't.
So I was actually going to touch on that, if that's all right with you. I know we haven't talked about prior the show, but I was going to talk to you about the aspect that that you're a natural athlete in a
Yeah.
sport that's predominantly not natural, right? And so when you say, let's just kind of clear it up. When you say natural, um, like us in our sport in fitness, the word natural can mean a lot of different things for a lot of different people. So like what do you mean when you say I'm natural?
Natural. Like I've never taken or touched any sort of steroid ever.
Got it.
Um, as far as supplementation goes, I've taken over the counter fat burners from
Mm-hmm.
like like what's it called? Lipogen. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Evogen.
Mm-hmm.
I was taking their fat burners during my cut.
Mm-hmm.
And then I take creatine and I take protein. And I don't, um, not that I have any shade towards people that do steroids. Like I don't care.
Right.
But for me personally, it doesn't align with my trajectory.
Sure, sure. No, that makes total sense. And that's why I wanted to talk to you, because it's a very unique thing, as we all kind of know in this industry. So most people like they will have that understanding. When you say natural, that's what I was thinking. You're not taking anabolics. Do you take diuretics pre-show?
No.
No, no.
Well, dandelion root tea.
Okay, so just
There,
natural
yeah,
diet. Mhm.
yeah.
Got it. Got it. So, so being natural and try and getting your pro card natural, which is all, I mean, nowadays almost impossible. how do you view the division moving forward? Do you, and you kind of answered it a little bit there when you said it doesn't really align with your trajectory, but do you like how do you feel your progression will be in this sport when as you're moving up the ranks to like a more elite athletes being, natural, if that makes sense?
Yeah. It's just like a waiting game, I suppose.
Hmm.
I'm taking this off season very seriously. I'm hitting my macros where my coach said we're getting up to like 5,000 calories a day, which is more than I've ever eaten in my life. um, but also lifting really heavy and strength training a lot. So
Hmm.
when I get to the point where I'm on stage again, I know that I gave it my all. Um, as for like when I move up the ranks or like do more shows, I am not interested in ever doing steroids. And
Hmm.
if it comes to the point where, okay, clearly I've done the most that I can um, naturally, and I would have to do steroids in order to keep going. It's just not in my interest to go keep going then.
Right, right. Okay. That's kind of what I was getting at. It's like if, and by no means am I saying you will ever have a limit because of this, but if you get to a point where you really can't get better without taking that step, like are you, willing to do it or not? And at this point, I guess you're saying that you would probably just call it quits at that point.
Yeah, I'm not willing to do steroids. Just like I want to have kids in probably 2 years anyway. So
Sure, sure.
that's at the forefront of my mind. And it's just like it just doesn't align with my integrity, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I know that,
Mm-hmm.
again, no shade to anyone that does
Right.
steroids, but for me personally,
Sure.
and I also kind of think it's a superpower, like I think that I can peak really well and I can get to know my body really, really well. Um, and I think that I'm blessed with really great genetics and
Mm-hmm.
um, I work really hard, so I don't think it's
Yeah.
going to be a limiting factor. And I hope to inspire other women to take a look at when people maybe say you need to be on steroids to succeed in this
Mm-hmm.
sport, maybe take a beat and take yourself as far as you can naturally
Right.
before
Right.
embarking on that.
Right. Well, there's definitely like people that have incredible genetics that can accomplish a lot naturally. And it seems like you're really on your way to doing that and have done a lot of that already. It's it- I think, and you're also in a division where I think, and I could be completely wrong, but it feels like you can do more naturally than some other ones. Like I would like it would be tough to be a female bodybuilder and be
Yeah.
natural. It would be tough to be even female physique, and be natural. So you're definitely like in a place where I think you can do more naturally. But I would be, excited to follow your career and just like, see, who you can prove wrong. What do you think about people that, and this is obviously a huge subject. There's tons of YouTube videos and people have made incredible living making YouTube videos exposing people that are, fake natties and so forth is what they call them. And like Liver King was a big deal just recently. I don't know if you're familiar
A little
with
bit,
him.
yeah.
Yeah, so he was just this guy that's obviously on steroids, but he was claiming nonstop, doubling down on that he never touched, and then he got exposed. Um, so what do you think about people that are like claiming that, but then aren't? Like, have you that crossed your mind?
Yeah. Um, it is really annoying. I don't like it. I think that like my first question is like, where's your integrity?
Hmm.
You are leading your audience to think that they can achieve something when you're lying.
Hmm.
Um, uh, so that bothers me because people do ask me a lot, like, you must be on steroids, you're lying. And I'm not. So
Right.
that frustrates me because first of all, it doesn't matter. Like why are you claiming natural if you aren't? Like, it does
Right.
not matter. So clearly you think that there's something wrong with it for you to be
Hmm.
lying. Yeah, I just think it's unfair to the audience that they
Yeah.
are telling that they're natural. Yeah.
Right. And often what happens is in these kind of scenarios is they'll be selling something that's like some kind of supplement, and they'll based upon their physique that they gained through using anabolics, they'll be selling some supplement and, implying or actively saying that this supplement is what got them to this point. And I think that really is a real, it's a real problem. And I mean, definitely the consumer, the burden is on the consumer, but I really feel like something should be done, about people like that, especially when they're making money off of, lies. But yeah, as my point to ask that was because you are natural. I assume like you get that a lot where people don't believe you because there's so
Yeah.
many people that have been exposed for claiming to be natural, and that aren't. So it's how do you like when you're when you're confronted with that kind of verbiage, when those kind of accusations, like how do you generally handle that?
Um, in person, people are a lot less, uh, I guess, aggressive.
The
Um,
keyboard warriors is what you deal with
exactly.
mostly.
Yeah. In person, people accept it. They're like, "Oh, that's cool."
Hmm.
Whatever they
Yeah.
you oblige. But online, people no. Even men can't get that lean when you aren't taking steroids and this and that. It used to really bother me just because um, I don't like feeling like people think that I'm lying. So that would bother me. But, you know, it's just kind of understanding that people sometimes don't believe things because they could never achieve
Mm.
something. Um, so they automatically assume that you're lying.
Right.
So it doesn't bother me as much anymore. I still don't like being thought of as a liar, but
Hmm.
uh, you know, just again staying in my own lane and just,
Hmm.
whatever. I
Yeah.
can't do
Yeah.
anything about their feelings or thoughts on it as long as I know that I'm being truthful to myself, then that I guess that's all that matters.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah, sometimes it's best. It's always like the question, right? Like, do you defend yourself or do you not? Because if you defend yourself, the question is why, like why are you defending yourself to these people? Then you might look like you're being like you got your feelings hurt, so maybe you are, but that's like that, those kind of thoughts. But then if you don't, then people just say whatever. I personally think the best thing to do is just not to address it. I mean, if at a certain point, you can make a statement if you'd like to somebody if it's important enough, but then at that point, if that person chooses not to believe you, then there's no point in, going further with the conversation. So,
Yeah, it gets exhausting
yeah,
because everyone's going to have their opinions.
sure,
And
sure.
yeah, doesn't matter.
And I think we live in a world now where almost everybody assumes that everyone in sports, not just bodybuilding, but every sport is on anabolics, like football, basketball. So it's like no matter what you say, that everyone's always going to assume that that people are on, and which I mean, there's some validity to that. But if it's someone's like you who are the rare person in that in that equation, yeah, it's got to be frustrating at times, I'm sure. So,
Yeah, I'm down to
mhm,
be the outlier. Like
mhm,
it's all good.
yeah,
I hope if anything I have a lot of sweet messages from women just saying like they feel inspired and thank you for telling your story or
mhm,
like, they resonate and like I said, I just hope to encourage women to like just take a thought. Like, do you need steroids right now?
right,
Um, whatever. So
right,
yeah, it just that thought alone is encouraging to me
sure,
because I can help one or two women um or encourage one or two women to just do whatever your body can do, then
Mhm.
I'm happy. Like that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, majority of the population aren't bodybuilders anyway. So the women that are gonna want to just get fit, they're not trying to step on stage. So someone like you is really inspiring to them because not only are you getting fit and you are stepping on stage and you're natural, like they're looking at that and saying, okay, well, if she can step on stage win a pro card naturally, at least I can just get in shape naturally. Like I don't need that, extra assistance, I guess you could say.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So to kind of pivot off that, like what do you think as far as like the decision making, you're new pro now, so now you're kind of overlooking the pro division, I guess you could say, surface level, you know. And what do you think about like their decisions this Olympia? Like Fran won, you had Issa and like do you agree with the decisions? Do you feel like somebody should have got placed higher or lower? Any views on that?
I agree across the
Mm,
board. I think that Fran looks amazing. I'm so inspired by her physique. Um, Issa, I'm sad to hear that she has a knee injury because I was excited to see her at the Arnold. Um, the only kind of thing that I was disappointed about was Dr. Sunny. I really love her physique. I love her personality. I think she's a fantastic athlete. So I was sad to see her not in top 5 or top 10. So,
mhm.
um, but I think that wellness could easily be going in a direction where it's like really, really big. So I thought that it was really amazing that Francielle, is it Francielle or right?
I mean, I think she pronounced
Bella,
Frenchiella, but I just call her Fran. That it's just so much
Fran.
easier.
Let's
Yeah.
keep it Fran.
Yeah.
I feel like I know her calling her Fran.
Um,
Um, Fran, she's very feminine. I think
mhm.
like it's really all about her. Her glutes are fantastic. She has a fantastic body in general, but um she airs more on the feminine side, which I'm
Mhm.
so happy about because she's who we are supposed to all look toward. She's the winner of Olympia. So
Mhm.
that's how all of us should be trying to achieve is kind of like she's our inspiration. She's the number one person in the
Right.
world. So
Yeah.
I absolutely adore her and
Mhm.
her physique. I think
I've yet to find anybody like it's so interesting how everyone has kind of like is backing Fran because a lot of within her own division, right? People that she would essentially be competitive against. Because in a lot of other divisions, you have like, people are constantly sniping at the, top person. But I haven't interviewed one single, a wellness competitor that hasn't loved the fact that Fran won, the Olympian, that
yeah,
she is the standard of what wellness should be. So
totally.
yeah, I didn't realize Issa, I'm gonna be at the Arnold next week. I didn't realize Issa wasn't gonna be competing for some reason. I must have missed that. So,
Yeah, it's kind of recent news, maybe
mhm.
like 2 weeks ago or
Okay.
so. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think she was struggling with a knee injury even prior to Olympia.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm not sure exactly what happened. I just follow this guy named Wellness Observer Live,
Hmm.
and he posted that she's not going to be on or that she's off the list. And so I just went to her profile and she like, confirmed. So
I'm interested to know if she's actually gonna be at the show and not competing, or
maybe
she.
like go support.
Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah. Yeah, that's too bad because I definitely think she would be the forerunner to win.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, she would. I mean, I thought, to be honest with you, I mean, as good as Fran was, I mean, I thought Issa was right up there. I mean, if it's I mean, if they picked Issa, I don't think too many people would have like been disappointed. So yeah, so she's definitely right up there with her.
yeah, I think Fran's glutes are just kind of like unmatched. Like
Hmm.
she has the most amazing glutes I've ever seen. I
Hmm.
actually like manifest her glutes when I'm lifting in my head. I'm like thinking of her glutes. I'm like, I'm going to achieve that one day. yeah, she's
Do
just
you think,
amazing.
is it like a structural thing or like?
I think so.
Mhm.
I seen lots of uh, back poses, and I think that they genetically, some glutes look different than others,
Right. Well, yeah.
and I think that yeah, her
Just
genetics and her glutes are just like
yeah, I
popping.
guess just like any other body part, it's everybody's is slightly different. So everybody's back is slightly different, quads slightly different. So yeah, some people just have a great structure and then they just build upon it. So
Yeah,
yeah, for sure. Um, have you kept up, and I don't know how deep I want to go and get into this, but have you kept up with, like you mentioned, Sunny, and with like everything going on with that with regard to the
yeah.
accusations and stuff like that?
Yes, I watched her videos, and she keeps saying, like, she explained, I think something like she was doing something for her lower back because it was in pain. I don't remember the exact verbiage, but um, anytime somebody says something online like that, I mean, I'm just going to believe her because
Yeah.
you know, I say that I'm natural, and I hope that people believe me.
Hmm.
Um, so who am I to like want that from others and not
Right.
do the same in return? So I
Yeah,
believe
I
her.
guess I guess you say you give her the benefit of the doubt,
Yeah, for
for it.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious, we don't need to go any deeper into that part of it, but I'm curious to know how, like, from now on, how they will place her, the bodybuilding is a very subjective sport. Sometimes if you show up not at your best, like they'll remember that. I'm curious to know, like, how from this point on how her progression is going to be, because she was doing very well prior to this show, so it was a drastic drop.
Yeah. Hopefully, it's a clean slate because
Yeah.
it shows that she took her feedback seriously and she respected what they said. And I think she's going to come with a more complete package. And she is going to showcase what she always has showcased, which was amazing quads. Her quads
Hmm.
are insane. Her glutes are insane. I think she kind of mentioned like her something about water, and her quads came in a little bit smaller, so her glutes
Hmm.
looked like way bigger and was overpowering. So I think she's going to be more symmetrical. I just follow her so on
Yeah.
Instagram, and I've been seeing her updates and stuff. So she looks amazing as
Hmm.
ever. You know,
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, one thing, I don't follow her, so I don't see her pictures regularly, but I do remember seeing them in the past, and she seems like she gets an incredible condition. Like, I
oh
mean,
my
her
gosh,
condition is unreal. I mean, I rarely see condition like that in any division. So it's insane. Yeah.
she also played soccer and ran track in college.
Hmm.
So I feel
That's
like
that's one of those things about, like, athletics prior to bodybuilding. It seems like the people that have done other sports prior to bodybuilding have really, like, excelled. I don't know what it is. I think it's maybe just they've kind of already got a good base, and then they just build on that base. Maybe.
think it's, yeah, like muscle maturity.
Hmm.
Bodybuilding is all about obviously musculature,
Right.
and I think that the longer time period you have under your belt lifting and stuff, especially if you play college, you're for sure in the weight room. It's just you're working more like explosive and trying to get faster, stronger, jump higher. So you're not bodybuilding, but you are still building lots of muscle. And I think that women that transition from powerlifting into bodybuilding too, amazing physiques, especially the core. I think that like boxing and any sort of explosive sport, your core
Hmm.
is going to just be killer.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. That the core exercises are like the most underrated because I just know that whenever I don't work my core for a while, or I got away from some sports that use my core, whenever I was getting back into the core, even though like my other muscle groups are large and relatively, I'd say, large and strong, like any kind of core exercise, and I was done in like 30 seconds because it's just so important. And you can have everything else, but if you got a weak core, it really cripples you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I want to tell you again, congratulations on, getting your pro card. It's a huge deal, and doing it naturally, even bigger of a deal. So, that's exciting news. Exciting to see you next year. Congratulations on getting married next year too. So you've got a lot going on, it's within this next year. So I'm hoping to see you, on stage at some point. And if someone, I wanted to go ahead and give you like a moment to kind of plug, yourself or anything that you want. If someone wanted to contact you for more like interviews or like any kind of nutritional advice or coaching, whatever you're involved in, what would be the best way for them to do that?
My Instagram is Brooke Hazard underscore Fitspo. Um, and then I am an online coach. I'm also an in-person coach. So I'm in Southern California. You can hit me up on Instagram. My website is brookehazardcoaching.com. And that's pretty much on TikTok. I'm Brooke Hazard underscore as well.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. And guys, I'm going to link everything at the bottom of this video. So, it'll be an easy click away for you guys to contact Brooke for whatever you desire. And Brooke, again, thank you so much for your time. I don't want to take up any more, time out of your day. You have a great
Thank
rest of
you.
the evening.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Of course. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.